Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, September 5th, 2025. So, exactly like how I have this picture of Jennifer, is exactly how I feel when her and Jack come into town. Because it's not even really Jack, because I'm cool with Jack, but anytime Jennifer comes in town, she comes with her sanctimonious, holier than thou attitude, and I can't stand it. I know some people like to see her come in and Jack. I'm not really caring for that, right? So they come over because it's JJ's birthday. They also want to see Charlotte because it's their first day of kindergarten and Thomas and all the works, right? So they come in and they're setting up for JJ's birthday party or whatever, and they Julie sends Jack to get the cake because she completely forgot about that. Maggie helped her set up, but Maggie had to stay home because Victoria's nanny became ill. So while Jack was out, it was intentionally done because Julie wanted to talk to Jennifer about Chad's growing relationship with Kat, right? So Jennifer is shortly briefed on, that, Chad was stuck in an elevator with her. He contracted the strep virus and everything. And, Julie said that, look, she's staying out of it because she likes having Chad over. She likes the relationship ever since Doug has passed. And, she doesn't want to mess that up. So she's staying out of it. And, just for the peace of mind, with Chad. So Jennifer still can't believe he would be in any kind of friendship with Kat and everything. But it is what it is. My piece on this is three words: get a life. Chad is a grown man. He can go be with anybody he wants to be with. At the end of the day, Abigail has passed. He will always love her, but he has to move on, right? You guys have to just respect that and just shut up and move forward. So JJ runs into Gwen at the square, and surprisingly, Gwen tells him happy birthday. He's surprised to even know that she even know. So she said that, at one point, she was actually invested in knowing everything about their family. So she did remember that it was his birthday today. And, it's just bittersweet because one time she wanted to be a part of the family, and, it was a huge disappointment. And, they were saying likewise, he was saying, like how, she was a disappointment to them as well. So it's mutual. So, again, JJ didn't stay that long for this conversation. It was cut short. And yeah, that was really it with them. Kat, is in La La Land because she's getting text messages from Chad about how he can't stop thinking about her. He sent her some flowers the other day, and he came over. He already dressed because he's going over to the Hortons to celebrate JJ's birthday, but he wanted to stop by her first. So she's alone because Felicity is starting school, and Aaron is off to college, so they have the home to themselves. So they begin to kiss, and glad to be around each other. She thanks him for the flowers, and he's making compliments, and she's smiling and all of that. So they're enjoying each other's company, and he asked about her job, and she said that she didn't start it until the next day. So she will be going by there later on to actually set up first thing in the morning. So of course, she knows that he's not really fond of her working for his brother. So she asked him for some pointers and deal with him, and he said that, look, you're a big girl, you can handle yourself, but I would say just to be careful, right? So, anyways, she says, speaking of brothers, she wanted to talk about her brother and, him actually being up for parole. And, she wanted to know what Chad was going to say regarding that because she knows it's a hard thing for him to discuss, considering that Mark tried to off him in Paris months ago. And, he said that it's really hard because, if Mark really acted on that, even though he was forced by Clyde, he would have been taking away the one surviving parent from his children, and it doesn't sit right with him. So he said that, even though it's not a yes or no, he has to think about it more. And on that note, he just leaves because Kat already made it awkward, and Kat need to understand because, again, her brother was actually threatening Chad's life, and she have to understand that Chad is gonna feel a type of way given what Mark tried to do to him, right? And it's just sad because the jurisdiction is different in Paris, and he's not being tried for, him assaulting him, but actually him forging the documents, making Kat act as his late wife. So that's what also makes him feel like dumbfounded with it. So, moving on, Brady and Steve are meeting up yet again to discuss this whole thing with Tate getting the adoption papers from Sophie and seeing if it's legitimate. Tate is on his shift there, and he's serving them, and Steve is complimenting him on his job there, and how he's doing really well, and he deserves a tip. So Tate doesn't want to accept the family and all of that, so he leaves because Sophia is there to give him the adoption papers. So he's gonna check in with her. So while that's happening, Brady fills in Steve on what he told Tate, given that the picture and some things don't add up. However, he didn't go deeper into detail, just so that things can be above board and Tate is not overly freaking out, right? So hopefully they can find some answers. Steve also talked about his whole adoption story and how him and Jack, he used to be having animosity towards Jack because he thought Jack was sent off to the good adoption home. Turns out that he wasn't, and he actually had the wrong end of the stick as well. But Brady's not being comforted by the story, and Steve's point is just saying that, look, with parenting, no matter how you try to do the right thing, there's always going to be risk involved. Your child is going to go through some kind of suffering, and that's definitely true. As a parent myself, I definitely can relate to that for sure. So Tate is over there, asking Sophia, hey, did you bring the adoption papers? So she said, here they are. Tate is looking over it, and he's like, what the hell, Sophia? So he looks over it, and she's like, what? And he's saying that, there's no information on adopted parents. So Sophia wants to come with the BS and said that, it's a semi-open adoption, so the parents did not want the information in there, which doesn't make no sense. And Tate is saying that, look, we initially agreed on an open adoption. Like, why didn't we just wait until we find a suitable parents that would agree with our requirements? And Sophia is trying to argue that, look, we didn't have much time, and I did give birth in Chicago, so there wasn't much adopted parents lined up, so I had to do what's best for the baby, and I didn't want to come back to Salem, and my mom would have control over the baby, and me having to raise the baby, or she going to the court to petition for custody over the baby and all of that. And Tate's arguing that, look, she's 18, she can't do nothing like that, but she says she's still living there, and she's arguing the fact that, look, it would have been more complicated, and just try to understand it. But Tate is furious at this point. Brady had to come over, cool him down. He had to come out, take a break, because he's just upset with what Sophia did. He shows Steve and Brady the paper, and they now understand why he's angry. And earlier, also, Tate did show her the picture of, the doctored photo of the parents and the baby, the stock image. And she was saying that she was trying to make him happy, she sorry that she lied and everything. But, that's the best she could do because she didn't get an actual photo and all this BS, right? So it keeps piling up, right? At some point, Tate believes it. And, he's just, over it at this point. Brady and Steve said there's more to the story, so they're going to continue to investigate but not tell Tate furthermore what's going on because they don't want him to stress, and he has college. They don't want to, stress him out with that. So he comes in, and, Sophia's trying to apologize for lying to him and all that, but Tate said, look, I need some space with this, right? So at some point, Brady comes to Tate, and, he said, can he hold on to the adopted papers a little longer? So he said, why? So he said that he wants to let Aunt Belle actually look over it and see if it's all straight to board and everything. So he agrees with that because at this point, like, he doesn't know what to believe with Sophia, right? Now, Gwen had another run-in with her dad this time, and she's surprised he's in town. He said he's here for JJ's birthday. So he tells her that, they're having a little birthday party, and she's, of course, in her feelings, but she doesn't want to say nothing about it. I didn't know he was having a party that I wasn't invited to, so he said, you wanted to come? So she said, me, I don't really care about going to the party, it's not like, people would want me there and all that. So it's like, I would have no problem with you being there. She said, but the rest of them, I would definitely dampen the mood and all that, so I'm good. So he said, no, you're not. I can tell that something is bothering you, and It seems as if you're doing well for yourself financially. She said, yeah, I'm having my husband's money and all that, and that's keeping me warm at night. The usual story, but he can tell that there's more to it. She's hurting inside, and after what he did to her, and then what the Horton family did to her, she's trying to get revenge. And because she couldn't catch Dimitri, she tried to do that with keeping Julie's necklace. So she said that it was a beautiful necklace. That's why she bought it. It wasn't nothing personal. But again, Jack sees beyond the BS, and we can tell that um Gwen is still holding resentment towards her father because she thinks that he's siding with the Horton family because he's disappointed in how she's acting. And she's saying that you're not even taking my side and everything like that. Gwen, go get some therapy and stop having this victim mentality, this chip on your shoulder. It is not cute, right? You need to deal with your problems and move forward. Like, yes, you can cut out Leo and all of that because what they did to you was shady, was disgusting, but come on now. You need to get some therapy, heal, work on your relationship with your father because at the end of the day, he did not know initially that you were around. You cannot blame the family for that because, again, they tried to welcome you with open arms and you treated them badly, treated their daughter really badly. So it is what it is. Like, get some help. So JJ comes home and he's surprised to see that his mom is there. Jack comes home with the cake and they set up the cake in there. Chad comes at some point and he's there to support JJ. And Steve comes over also to pay his respects. He did tell them that, Kayla couldn't come because she's busy as chief of staff, but he did bring home, a gift certificate for JJ to enjoy. JJ couldn't stay the whole day because, again, he's on duty. So he only would be there to, like, blow out the candles and, I guess have some champagne or whatever that is. So they come over and they wish him well and, all of that jazz. At some point, Jack and Steve were talking and they talk about how they missed out on a lot of birthdays given their foster store and everything like that. And they're just glad that they're around to celebrate more birthdays with their families and everything like that, right? So at some point too, Jack talked to Chad about Gwen's intentions on staying in Salem, right? So he said he only saw her once or twice and she's staying at his brother's place. He doesn't really know what her intentions are, care to know, right? Now, Jack and Jennifer, after JJ left and Julie, Steve, them left, so Chad and Jennifer and Jack began to talk. So Jennifer and Jack said that they made their statements towards the board because they heard about Mark Green being up for parole and they definitely are opposing him being released early. So they're asking Chad point blank, like, what's his thoughts. They already assume that he is opposing, but he did not say yes or no. So I know that's going to be causing a problem between him and Jennifer mostly. Jack, of course, but, Jennifer mostly because, again, she can't seem to understand what's his deal with Cat Green. Speaking of Cat Green, she went into the office to set up and she sees this blueprint with, I guess, a new hospital, something like that. So she took pictures and she rolled it up back. Gwen comes in and Gwen is like, what are you doing here, Kat? So now I saw some, a comment from a Facebook group about Gwen possibly being the one that loaned EJ the money. Because remember, somebody had to be loaning EJ that kind of money to be invested in this hospital, right? So it could be Gwen and her Von Leuschner fortune, right? It would make sense because she's over there and that's why she wants to be closer to Cat Green. It will all add up. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend.